Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube segment, what I want to do is pay a tribute and eulogy to NBA legend Jerry West, who had passed away on today at the time of this video on June 12th, 2024. My understanding it was natural causes. The thing is, what helped inspire me to do this video actually was had to do with something I saw on Around the Horn today. Around the Horn, as many of you may know, is a television show, airs on ESPN Monday through Friday. And the thing about it is, and they give what the show does is it gives. They have like four panelists on the show, and they give their varying opinions on various sports topics and questions. And today they talked a little bit about the passing of Jerry West, but it was only for like a minute or two. And I mean, I don't get me wrong, I love the show Around the Horn, and I'll be a loyal and steadfast viewer of it, likely for years to come, as long as it's around. But uh, I felt like they could have maybe talked. I could have talked about Jerry West a little bit more. A minute or two tribute, and it wasn't until like maybe 10 or 12 minutes into the show when they began talking about it. Thing is, some of you may remember when Kobe Bryant passed away tragically in 2020 when he was involved in that tragic, traumatic helicopter crash, right? Around the Horn, basically, they talked about the Kobe Bryant death of the whole segment. And people were very despondent on the show. I remember at least one panelist was crying on there. And the thing about it is, I understand that Jerry West is not, a contemporary player. He might get a little slighted and overlooked because of this, but that doesn't, take away the greatness of the person. And I felt like there should have been a little bit more, time given to Jerry West because what we have to understand is, and I'm going to talk about some of his numbers, career numbers, which were a little startling and staggering to me because, you look at like, when you make a, comparison with him and some of the all-time greats that we talk about frequently, his numbers are very comparable to those players. I wanted to say, when we look at, Kobe Bryant, like for example, and people had to understand. Okay, there's a lot of people out there that have not really looked at footage of Jerry West, right, and seen, his actual, greatness. Kobe Bryant had gotten a lot of notoriety and recognition, and still does, because a lot of it, I think, is because he emulated, Michael Jordan's style. And if anybody was like that second coming, that replica, of Jordan, or the closest thing to a carbon copy of Michael Jordan, it very well was Kobe Bryant. But what I'd like to say, to those out there, especially those that have not really, studied, anything much about Jerry West as a player, is that Jerry West averaged, more points per game than Kobe Bryant. He averaged more assists per game than Kobe Bryant. He averaged more rebounds per game than Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant averaged 25 points per game. Jerry West 27 points per game. In the rebounds, Kobe averaged 5.2 rebounds per game. Jerry West averaged 5.8 rebounds per game. And in the assist department, Kobe averaged 4.7 assists per game. Jerry West 6.7 assists. There is no doubt that Jerry West is a somewhat unheralded and underrated, maybe even unappreciated all-time NBA great. And I want to say appalled might be a really harsh word, but I was like really, just taken aback a little by the fact that he didn't seem to get that much attention. But I'm, sure ESPN will put something on where they'll pay like a longer tribute to him, whether it's on Sports Center or some other, type of show. I don't know if it could be a 30 for 30 segment or, something. I do see something coming up at one point, and I think there was something where I don't know, what show it was, where, Jerry West, my understanding, at least how he felt he was poorly portrayed, in some sports segment, and I don't know if that might have something to do, with maybe him not garnering the attention that I would say, he deserves. And I want to even go to another level and go into, Michael Jordan. Now, Michael Jordan. Even I will say, I think, Michael Jordan was unequivocally, the greatest NBA player of all time. I don't think there's much doubt in that. I mean, when you talk about his scoring and defensive skills and ability, that he may have been the most, the most balanced in those areas, because not only was he was proficient, very proficient in the scoring department. I mean, he was in, really like a defensive, type specialist, pretty much. And, I want to say though, looking at Jordan compared to Jerry West, Michael Jordan averaged 30.1 points per game in his career, and Jerry West again averaged 27 points per game in his career. MJ averaged 6.2 rebounds per game, and Jerry West averaged 5.8 rebounds per game. In the assist department, Michael Jordan averaged 5.3 assists per game, but Jerry West actually averaged more, 6.7 per game. I think Jerry West had like around 25,000 career points as well. And Jerry West had a very, tremendously accomplished, NBA career. And we don't, there's something called a whole picture in this, okay? We can say, well, Michael Jordan, as far as the athlete, right, had, was the best player, well, arguably the best player ever. But when you talk about an NBA career, when you're talking about the accomplishments as a player, and then what you do, like as an executive with a team, you're talking about Jerry West may have arguably had the best full NBA career, not just as a player, but he was also, phenomenal executive, is something that we have to look at as well. Okay, Jerry West was a 14-time NBA All-Star, I believe, but Jerry West was also an 8-time NBA champion as an executive. So he had executive prowess and ability. Michael Jordan, my understanding, he's been in the front office with his team, for some, or at least had been. I don't know currently if he is or not, but, and he didn't, really, I don't know if you would even say he did an adequate job with his team. A lot of times, being a great NBA player doesn't always manifest in tremendous success when you're in the front office. But Jerry West had the best of both worlds, because he was able to be successful as a player and executive. And the thing is, Jerry West would go down a little bit unnoticed and unrecognized by some people, because we're, modern day, people right now that are in their 20s and 30s didn't see, Jerry West play. I don't even really remember him as a player, because, Jerry West's final season was in the mid 1970s, I believe, and I didn't really get that much into sports until the early, 1980s. But I know enough about Jerry West, from certain footage I've seen, and I've watched some, programming where he was talked about extensively, and I understand and I do appreciate what he did. It's a shame that, my channel here doesn't get an exorbitant amount of views. I would like to get this word out to people more about Jerry West, and to show, that he is somebody that really was praiseworthy and really deserved to be lauded for his efforts, and not just as a player, but as an executive. And again, I think there should have been more of a tribute to him, by the sports world, I think, on this day. And it's something that, that's a shame that this, that it is, the way it is. And I think a lot of it too is like when you look at, Jerry West, it's also the fact, when he passed away at 86 years old, just natural causes, older age or what have you, might, at least that is what's been, reported. The Kobe Bryant death was very, traumatic. It was more spontaneous. It was, Kobe Bryant, at that time, was obviously much more popular as a sports figure and basketball player than Jerry West. Jerry West, at the time when he played, I'm sure was a very, popular sports player, and he hit. The thing about him, when you look at, the NBA and, what he did, I mean, he was, I don't know if he is currently the logo for the NBA, but I know he at least was at one point. You may want to confer on the internet as far as what the current logo is for the NBA, that emblem or ensign or whatever you want to call it. But, there was a reason he became that logo, because, a lot of people may have seen him as someone that epitomized, what the NBA, was about. And you have to, again, it's very sad and tragic with his passing. I wanted to say, something that was very astounding, and I watched a video of it again today, is that, because I want to get more, the specifics on it. Jerry West hit like a 60-foot shot back in the, I believe it was the NBA Finals in 1970 against the New York Knicks, and the 60-foot shot that went in sent the game into overtime. It tied the game against the Knicks. I believe it was Game 3 of the NBA Finals against the Knicks. The Lakers ultimately lost that game, but it still was a tremendous shot. And if that was if that happened in today's game, it would have been a three-pointer, and the Lakers actually would have won in regulation. And when you look at the numbers with Jerry West, 27 points per game. Can you imagine if they had the three-point line during the time he played? Would he have retired maybe with the best scoring average per game of anybody? Possibly. Will Chamberlain may have. I don't know how Will Chamberlain was as a real, perimeter outside shooter, though. But Will Chamberlain is, as many of you may know, is number 2 in scoring average per game all time, behind the great Michael Jordan. Just a hair behind, Jordan. But it would not surprise me to either have Chamberlain or Jerry West may have actually been the all-time scoring leader in points per game if they had the three-point shot back in their day. So that's also something, to look at. And Jerry West, what the thing about him as well is he was just a tremendous, model of persistence and perseverance. I mean, it took him many years to get that elusive NBA title. He finally won it in 1972, I believe it was. And you don't really hear that, talked about that much. It's interesting. I mean, I'm a New York Knicks fan, don't get me wrong. I'm glad the Knicks from that early 70s garner a lot of attention. They get a lot of attention from the 1970 NBA title they won and the one they won in 1973. But the Lakers had won in 1972, had a tremendous team. Jerry West was on, finally got the title, but he stayed with the Lakers through trials and tribulations, through thick and thin, until he got that elusive title. You didn't have, the team jumping that you have going on more in today's game. You have more loyalty. So you had more loyalty to an NBA team back in that time. And that's something that we don't really hear talked about, that much. You don't want to blame anything on luck or superstition. But for Jerry West, if anybody was a hard luck basketball player, it certainly was him. I mean, there was one finals, I believe it was the 1969 NBA Finals against the Celtics. Some of you may remember at least seeing the footage on this. That what happened was that by the end of the game, one of the Celtics players took a shot. And what happened was, I think it hit the back iron of the rim, and the ball went up very high. and as it plummeted down, it landed in the basket, and it ultimately won the game for the Celtics. And the Lakers, you think they could have very easily won that game, but they just couldn't quite get the job done. But Jerry West stayed with the team and persisted through thick and thin. They finally got the job done in 1972, and the thing is, and this is something where Jerry West really should be, really a little, at least a little bit more honored on this day of his passing, and to do what he did in the NBA for as far as the longevity as a player and executive. Now, I think he may have coached as well, and it's something you may want to confer on the internet as well. And if he did coach, you talk about showing the versatility and what he did in the NBA would be phenomenal. And when I talk about the best NBA career arguably of all time, I'm not just talking about as far as a player. I'm talking about player and even executive and possibly coach, and that's something you got to check on, people out there to see people. I mean, sorry that I didn't get that, as far as verifying whether he was a coach or not. But if he was, then that's an added plus for Jerry West, and that's what I want to close with, people. And I just want to say again, if anybody out there connected with Jerry West sees this, I would just want to offer my prayers and condolences to the close friends and family members of him. And anyway, people, this is Edwin Learnard, and until next time, stay well.